Hello and welcome to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, a show where two former roommates talk about a new movie every week. This week on the show, we're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home.
Ever since I got bit by that spider, I've only had 1 week where my life has felt normal. That was when you found out.
When you botched that spell where you wanted everyone to forget the Peter Parker Spider-Man, we started getting some visitors.
As always, I'm your host, Korbin Zvokel, and joining me is my co-host, Kody Webb. Kody, are you ready to talk Spider-Man or what?
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, no, this is going to be a good episode, I think. We've talked about a couple of the Spooderman movies in the past, but, we're talking about like a live movie in theaters as well. I think that might be the first time we've done that on the show, so that's interesting as well.
Yeah, we definitely don't. I mean, we had a little discussion at the end of our last episode, and honestly, I wanted to talk about it a little bit more. And obviously, everyone's talking about this movie right now, so I figured, why don't we break the seal on the new movie, the new release podcast episode. So Spider-Man No Way Home, probably the biggest thing to happen in movies since Endgame was released. And I figured there's a lot of great things to talk about in this movie. So why don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, the seal's been broken. So next week we're going to have to pick another movie that's coming out. But yeah, no, I mean, just the money this movie's made at the box office has been kind of ridiculous, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I mean, I feel like this will probably be the movie of all the one that's we've done. Still can't talk. What is it, like episode 30 or something? But yeah, I feel like everybody will actually have probably seen this movie who's watching the episode, which is not that common probably. But that's definitely cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is, if we were to pick a different movie that was out in theaters at any point in the last year since we started this podcast, there's a good chunk of people who probably wouldn't have seen it, even more so than most of the movies we picked. But I think this is truly such an event, eventized movie going. We thought maybe it was dead, but Spider-Man No Way Home has potentially brought it back. And I think there's a lot of layers and facets that we can talk about that. And why don't we just go ahead and get into talking about the movie, right? So I'll get us started with our initial thoughts. First of all, very spoiler heavy conversation that's about to happen. Obviously, if one, you haven't seen this movie, or two, you haven't seen it and somehow like haven't had anything spoiled at this point, honestly, good for you. But Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in this movie, Kody.
Wow. You just spoiled the movie for everybody listening.
Exactly. I told them to stop listening. I said this spoiler heavy guy. If they're still here, then oh well. And if they haven't been on Twitter or Instagram or read a newspaper in the last week,
they're pissed now because you spoiled it.
Give me your initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my Letterboxd review, I think I talked about it a little bit last week. I think it's spot on. Just the the culmination of how this movie was even made is just an achievement. Like, to get those two actors from past franchises from the past like 20 years or whatever, I think it's impressive. I think it's cool. Like, I feel like just that being in this movie makes it unhateable almost. Like, if you don't like this movie, that's fair, but that achievement of just getting past actors, even the villains too, like, that's so dope that, it's obviously a different universe and it's different studios working together, which you don't really see that often. And just the word of an achievement, I think, describes this movie so well, because I would have never guessed in a million years that would have happened.
Yeah, I do want to preface this. We are, very excited about this movie, but we do have our problems with this. So don't think this is just going to be us talking about how great this movie is for an hour. We will get into some things we don't like, as we always do, but an achievement, that is absolutely the way I would describe it. And this could not have happened at any other time in movie history, though. At the same time, like, this is the culmination of literally, 20 years of filmmaking and popular filmmaking, and not necessarily filmmaking as an art, but filmmaking as a business.
Yeah.
And I don't know where we go from here. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of cheap ripoffs and remakes and people trying to imitate in a way that, probably will work at some point, but will also fail a lot. And I'm definitely interested to see the ongoing ramifications following this. But it's definitely cool to just be able to, we were obviously not going to the theaters to see the original Spider-Man when it came out, but we definitely grew up with those movies, and we watched The Amazing Spider-Man later, but it was still a heavy part of our childhood. It's something as, being 21, 22-year-olds, like this is representative of like our entire cultural lives to an extent. Like this is a combination of all those things coming together. So definitely very interesting. If you want to, you good talking about that, or do you want to get into the movie now?
No, I think you had an interesting point there as well, where like I feel like this will create more just nostalgia bait movies. Because this movie is a nostalgia bait, but I think it's done well. I mean, we were talking about last episode as well. I thought they were just going to be, characters in it for 5 minutes. They're in the movie for a good hour. I think you can do these kinds of movies like super well. I think this is the formula to use. But I mean, with all these big franchises, they see this, they're chomping at the bit to get any old actor, any old characters like back into the franchises immediately. Like probably gonna see like Shia LaBeouf come back to Transformers, and all the Jurassic Park original cast come back. Like I think it will be not great maybe for the history of movie franchises, but I mean at this moment I can't really be too mad about it.
I have two thoughts on that.
Yeah.
First of all, obviously we were already seeing the revitalization of like new IP. Sure. Like that's not new. Like
no, that's not new at all. But
or Star Wars came back, and Indiana Jones 5 is coming out, and revitalizing like old IP is obviously something that's been happening, and I think this is just the next step in that. So I think that's really interesting. Second thing I want to talk about, DC is fucked here again, as they have been repeatedly, but they were doing Flashpoint and Michael Keaton Batman announced before maybe this movie even was conceived. And they got beaten to the punch because that's what Warner Brothers, does every single time. They spend years on production hell development, and then they finally put out a movie that's just awful. And it's probably not even going to be a good movie, but people are always going to compare it to Spider-Man No Way Home, and what they're attempting to do in Flashpoint is going to be compared to Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think is a big L for DC once again. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'd buy that deep into it. I'm actually super excited for the Flashpoint movie. I don't know why, but I love Flash as a character, and you're throwing Keaton in there, dude. Why not? I also am excited for the new Batman movie, which came out with a new trailer recently. So I think DC's all right. I think you might be jumping the gun just because Marvel came out with one good movie this year out of 4. Yeah,
I just mean from the bringing back the old characters. They're not going to be first, so.
No, you're not wrong there. But yeah, I did also want to point out it's kind of funny that we've done 3 Spider-Man movie reviews.
One of each one too.
Yeah, exactly. We did Spider-Man 1, the original for Toby, and then we went straight to number 2 for Andrew, and then we went straight to number 3 for Tom Holland.
It is poetic. So
we kind of just went in order, just like not in the right way. But I thought that was funny off the bat. And then I did want to get just more into the movie as well. Like it's not a perfect movie by any means. I think the plot and the pacing is definitely iffy at times. But I mean, overall, it's just an experience.
16% of all KHAP episodes have been dedicated to a Spider-Man film. I just want to throw that out there.
That's quick math there. I respect that. I could knock down that, that quickly. But yeah, the plot. I mean, also a weird thing about the MCU lately. I feel like they're really trying to make Doctor Strange a thing. It's like in Mean Girls, Stop trying to make Fetch a thing. Stop trying to make Doctor Strange a thing, dude. Like we get it. Doctor Strange is cool. Don't throw him in every fucking movie. Like I don't need to see him that often. I'm getting cummerbund over exposure here. I don't know what it is about it, but it kind of just pisses me off that he's in all these movies so much. What do you think about that?
I think I did the math wrong. It's 10%. But moving on.
Quick math.
I forgot about season 1.
Oh,
you can never forget season 1.
Never.
I like Doctor Strange, so personally, I don't have a huge issue.
He's in just too much though. Every single movie he's in.
Well, and it takes away from the instances where he's not in movies. I think Eternals is like a big example of that, where like if there's a celestial coming out of the ground, you don't think that, well, I guess he's not the Sorcerer Supreme, but you don't think that like the most powerful wizard is gonna like just not be around for that, or you don't think he's going to come to Westview and handle things in WandaVision. You don't think he's going to be there for Shang-Chi when the entire gates of hell are opening or whatever. Like every like mystical thing that happens that Doctor Strange isn't involved in just doesn't make any sense at this point. He's doing nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And he got beat by Spider-Man, so he's not that strong.
Yeah, he got his ass kicked by Geometry. So I don't know what to tell you.
You got any initial thoughts?
This fatal thought. Yeah, I got a couple things. First of all, I actually really enjoyed the opening of this movie. Something specifically, I think the MCU does a really cool thing of playing with their opening sequences and their titles. Obviously, you have the iconic Marvel logo that has kind of changed and warped depending, both with phases and even the projects they're working on. After Infinity War, all of the people that were blipped were removed from the logo. The WandaVision logo is, something specific, whether it's black and white, or the Loki logo has, different, like all of them. They always play around with them in interesting ways. And I think the way that they open this movie with, it starts with sound over top of like the Sony logo and the Columbia logo and the Marvel logo. And it's all the sound of the news reports talking about Spider-Man and obviously the Mysterio news that has come out. And I really like the way that Marvel has continued to play with that. We're going to have these opening logos, but we're also going to use them to tell a story, as well as just starting with the sound in general. I think it is pretty interesting in this movie. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, just back on what you're saying, I do like how, they get creative a little bit with each movie with the Marvel logo. Obviously the dust away of Endgame. I feel like that's definitely my favorite. Just so creative, so fun. Also, like half the choirs playing during the theme as well. Like just little details like that where you go back on the second watch and you're like, oh dang, that's actually really cool that they thought of that. But yeah, I definitely back that.
And then the last thing I'll say, and this kind of gets us into stupidest part. So we can combine it here. Here's stupidest part. I don't love the VFX at points in this movie. And I've said this to a couple of people and I always get confused looks, or people are like, you're just being nitpicky. And I probably am being a little bit nitpicky, but I've now seen this movie 3 times in theaters, 2 times on an IMAX screen. You start to notice these things a lot more, even though I feel like I still felt them in the first watch. It was just more evident second and third watch. There are just points where it looks rushed. It doesn't look the best. Specifically, the bridge scene for me, I think the way Doc Ock is moving around is very unnatural. I know the way they shot it was like him on a wire on a blue screen, and it was just him floating around. And I felt like they kind of then had to go in and animate his octopus legs just based on the way his body's moving in free space. And I think the physics of that don't make a whole lot of sense rather than like having it pre-planned. So I think it just looks wonky, and there's some lighting stuff too when it's like close up is on him. I think the de-aging stuff looks great though. Like I think he looks good in terms of the de-aging. And then the other one is when he's fighting Green Goblin right before Aunt May dies in that apartment complex. There's some moments where it's just clearly there's good stunt work in that scene, but then there's also moments where you can tell neither of them is real people and they didn't film anything practically, where it's an entire computer animation. Like Green Goblin is a CG character, Spider-Man's a CG character, and it's like him picking him up and throwing him through a window. And I think they just don't do a good job of blending the two. It's not even that you can use entirely CG characters. I mean, Spider-Man for the most part in this movie is entirely CG. The suits are. And you can look at like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, where those entire fight sequences are just like computer animated with very little practical filming involved. And it is all CG and it flows together and it kind of fits the aesthetic. Where in this movie, it's some really like groundbreaking visual effects that look amazing and true to life. And then you have these 1 or 2 shots in there that just kind of fall into the uncanny valley, and it becomes all the more noticeable because stylistically it doesn't match up.
Yeah. No, there were points. I've only seen the movie once. I'll put that out there. But there were a couple points where I think you're right. It's like visually, it's just like something's a little bit off. Maybe like you were talking about the blending. I think the reveal of the final suit at the end, I thought that kind of looked not great, if I'm being honest. That was one of the moments that stuck out to me. The bridge scene, it wasn't super noticeable for me, I don't think. I think just the movement of Doc Ock is cool. But yeah, I mean other than the Batista bomb or by the Gavi, That whole fight it's kind of hard to keep up with what was going on, if I'm being honest as well. Just like the editing a little bit there too. But yeah, I mean, maybe they just blew out the budget getting getting these actors back. I don't really know. Maybe COVID had something to do with, they didn't have enough time or something. But it's definitely interesting. Maybe they'll come up with the final cut and it'll look a little bit sharper or something. I'm not sure.
What is your stupidest part of this movie, Kody?
Yeah, I got a couple. First off, just right off the bat, the thing that really irks me in this movie, it's the waste of Daredevil. Like, come on, dude. Why is he even in this movie? Like, it's not necessary at all. Like, he's in it for what, 30 seconds tops? He has like 2 lines, and it's just legal mumbo jumbo. And it all the legal crap just goes away within like 30 seconds, anyways. So, I mean, I don't get why they put him in the movie. And then he like catches a brick. So I mean, I guess that's cool. But like, if you're just a casual, you're like, who the hell is this blind guy catching bricks? Like I would be so confused, and I feel like that's just so out of place and unnecessary.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's very much it's the Marvel thing of like they just put it in there to set up a future project. Maybe we get to see Spider-Man actually work together, and it maybe kind of confirms that potentially Daredevil is canon. Maybe we'll get a Disney Plus season 4. Who knows? I don't know. It's more confusing than anything at the end of the day to me. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I am 100% down for a season 4 and everything. I feel like I'm one of the just rare like big Daredevil Netflix show fan.
not anymore, bro. Everyone loves Daredevil now.
Supposedly, I mean, I think it's a good show. But if they do another season, like I'm gonna be hyped. But I mean, I'll talk about it later, and when we're talking about the Hawkeye finale as well. There's just some additional stuff. But another one of my dumb parts, basically, I mean, this is just the entirety of the plot almost. But why not just cure all the villains like in their cages? I feel like letting the clearly unstable Jamie Foxx out. Willem Dafoe, I don't know what's going on with him. His mind's all over the place. And then, the lizard's legitimately threatening them the entire time he's in the cage. I don't understand why the need to take them to Happy Hogan's apartment was, other than to get away from Doctor Strange. But I mean, he's tied up evidently. So I don't see the value in leaving, their little dungeon there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They're probably better off keeping them in the cages. Obviously, they're a little unstable, so maybe keeping them in the cages just pisses them off more. But like, they're in the cage, so what are they gonna do at this point?
Right.
Like, you could still heal them. Like, I don't know. You're just gonna piss them off. My thing with that is, in terms of plot holes, Electro shouldn't be a villain in this movie, and I stand by that. We've recently watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
At no point in that movie does Jamie Foxx's Electro know the identity of Spider-Man. He does not know Peter Parker.
What is that even confirmed? That
they say it. They say it. I swear they say they're bringing. Doctor Strange says.
I thought he said that in the trailer, though.
It's in the movie. I'm pretty sure.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it's not.
Hey man, I've seen it 3 times. In the movie it says bringing everybody who knew Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or knows Peter Parker Spider-Man. Now, of course, you should also then get, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy and Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane, and they don't show up. And Gwen Stacy's father should be there. You can say that only some of them were able to get through, which is fine because you don't have, Eddie Brock. Topher Grace is Eddie Brock, and you don't have.
Where the hell was Topher Grace?
Dane DeHaan. But Electro shouldn't be there because he doesn't know who Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
He literally thinks he's black. He thinks Spider-Man's black, so he definitely doesn't know Peter Parker Spider-Man. That's in the movie. He thinks Spider-Man's black. Also, we know the moment that he is removed from the movie or moved into this universe is the moment in the movie right before they defeat him, because he's talking about he just entered the grid, downloaded a bunch of data. So it's not like, though, this is Electro from later on in the universe where maybe he finds out. So he shouldn't be in the movie. It doesn't make any sense. Someone explain it to me.
I mean, I think there might have been a throwaway line in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 where Dane DeHaan's like Peter Parker or something, and maybe
Well, like Emma Stone definitely probably calls him Peter, but like I don't. It just is. It's kind of flimsy.
yeah, no, it's very flimsy if I'm being honest. And yeah, I mean the whole just how the villains come back isn't really explained. Um, I guess maybe that's basically a throwaway line itself as well. If Doctor Strange even says that, everybody knew Peter Parker is coming back right now, but I
I
mean, who doesn't know?
And how does Doctor Strange know that just because he caught a lizard? I guess that's your argument, is like Doctor Strange doesn't actually know, but literally all he did was catch the lizard, and then he's like, oh, all these people are from other universes because they know Peter Parker. Like, did he talk to the lizard? It seems like nobody even knew the lizard talked at that point.
Yeah, another good point. I do have another dumb thing I want to
The
talk
use of the lizard.
I mean, yeah, that in general. But basically the ending, I'm just gonna skip to the end here because we talked about Aunt May a little bit last week, and I don't really want to get into that again. It's pretty stupid. But basically, it's another Doctor Strange grew up, so everybody hold their horses. But I don't really understand why he couldn't put restrictions on the spell again, like he was going to at the beginning of the movie. So obviously at the beginning, like they changed the spell like 6 times or whatever it was. For all the people, Peter still wanted to know it was him. And I mean, you got rid of like, half those people anyways. So why not just put a spell with Ned and MJ knowing who he is? And then also, aren't MJ and Ned going to be like, why the hell was I at the Statue of Liberty when there was a massive firefight with Spider-Man? Like, there's going to be footage of them there, right? So they're going to know, like, they were connected somehow and something happened along the way. Like, they're not idiots. They're going to figure that out, right?
I mean, there's definitely some questions about like, does the spell change reality? Does it delete any pictures they had with Peter Parker?
Yeah,
Because like
exactly.
it seems like Peter Parker is just like not even a real person anymore. Like that's basically what the spell does. Like Peter Parker is erased because he doesn't go to high school with them anymore. He's testing for a GED. Like his records, does he even have a social security number? How's this guy gonna live?
How do you get an apartment?
What money? Yeah. If he does he have a bank account still? Like it's a little confusing. Something that I heard on another podcast talking about this movie is that it's very clear where they wanted to end up at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
So first of all, they wanted nobody in the MCU to know who Spider-Man was, so that going forward for future Spider-Man trilogy, they can quote unquote remain closer to the roots of the character, being on maybe a more neighborhood level, and not being ingrained and attached to the MCU's other characters. That's a big gripe. I mentioned it last week that a ton of people had, is that they called, him Iron Boy Jr., that he relied too much on people like Doctor Strange or Tony Stark as a character, and they weren't his own solo movies, which has been for the most part true of the Spider-Man's MCU. Doesn't, not necessarily a bad thing, but it is accurate. So it's clear they wanted him to be more separated from that and to be able to have his own story moving forward. So they wanted that. They wanted a spell. Okay, nobody knows Peter Parker's Spider-Man anymore. Okay, let's do it with Doctor Strange. They also said we want the climactic final fight to be bringing back all these characters. We want the Lizard. We want Sandman. We want Topher Grace's Venom. That's too confusing. No. Dane DeHaan Green Goblin. Nah, that'll just be weird with Willem Dafoe. We want Green Goblin. We want Alfred Molina Doc Ock. They got the villains they wanted. They said, how do we get these villains in this universe? Let's make up some bullshit about a Doctor Strange spell, and we'll just pretend like this is the reason why these villains need to be in the movie. It's very poorly constructed up to that point of what they want. Like they kind of just threw it together after the fact. It's definitely building in reverse here.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, the entire reset is exactly what you said. They just want it closer to the comics. I mean, this was basically just an origin story. We got through 3 movies just to go, where Marvel eventually wanted to see a Spider-Man trilogy.
Well, I think it's really where Sony wanted to see it go.
Well, that's probably
if
true
I were to guess. But
I mean, yeah, the whole there's an entire argument just about getting this movie made. Like originally, if the deal with Sony didn't pan out for another trilogy, I think they were just going to do a Craven movie straight up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure Sony had, a big hand in this movie, and I'm sure they're going to give themselves a lot of credit. And I think we might not see a good Spider-Man movie for a while. So bold statement there.
Well,
But
and also by doing this, it
yeah,
makes it so much easier if there is a end to that relationship at some point between Sony and Marvel again, uh, or there's some restriction where he can't show up in a certain movie, maybe a future Avengers movie. It just eliminates him from needing to be there. Because right prior to this movie, it'd be weird if Spider-Man wasn't a part of the Avengers. After this movie, you could understand why maybe. I mean, Spider-Man still exists. Spider-Man as a character in the MCU still exists. He still saved the world. Everybody knows that. They just don't know Peter Parker Spider-Man. I don't know.
no, it's definitely confusing. But I mean, he's basically not in the MCU, but he is. But I mean, he's not connected to anybody anymore, so
No,
there's no reason for him to
zero
pop up.
connection.
Yeah.
Uh okay. Do you have anything else stupid you want to talk about this movie? We've kind of droning on here.
No, I'm good. I'm good. You
All
got
right,
anything?
I got one last thing.
Go for it.
Why is it that listen, I've been to New York, Times Square. It's crazy for sure. There's
Oh, you've been there.
TVs all over the place. Been there one time. The TVs don't just like play the news though, and they
No,
play
ads.
sound.
They play ads mostly.
It's literally just ads and but there's not sound. Like you couldn't just go to Times Square and every TV would be a basically. I mean, the way this movie makes it seems like Alex Jones. They wouldn't just turn the Daily Wire or not. That's Ben Shapiro. They wouldn't turn whatever Alex Jones's show is called. They wouldn't turn Ben Shapiro on either and just broadcast it and then have like the audio playing too. Like it just doesn't really make any sense. And there's the scene where after Aunt May dies, Peter Parker's on a random building and there's just a giant screen of J. Jonah Jameson yelling at him and telling him he's terrible. But like it's what midnight right now and they're just blaring this TV screen in the middle of a New York neighborhood. Not even
Hey,
Times Square, just a random neighborhood.
J. Jonah Jameson's got pull in this neighborhood,
It
dude.
just makes
He wants news. If J. Jonah Jameson wants news on at 2 a.m., you're damn right he's gonna get it. All right, you're disrespecting the man.
like if there was a world event that was like really crazy, like I like in The Martian when everybody's watching on Times Square, like that kind of shit, sure. But
Yeah.
just J. Jonah Jameson, like breaking news, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and it's suddenly just being played to all of New York on like the big screens. I don't know.
I mean, that is kind of a big deal.
It's a big deal, but it makes it seem like that's live, like a live broadcast coming in. I mean, maybe it's an old clip, but it's still strange. Like, okay, the one after Aunt May's death makes zero sense. You
Yes.
cannot give it's
No.
there just to make Peter Parker feel worse about himself.
Yeah, I agree with that one. But the first one I kind of buy. I mean, if we found
Well,
out,
they're not even in Times Square, too. I don't think in that first one. They're just on a random New York corner, which is what makes it. I guess the MCU is more like a futuristic world, but still, I don't know.
yeah, this is 5 years into the future as well. So maybe things have changed. Who knows?
Well, and even like when it wasn't the future, there's aliens and Iron Man shit. Like things that don't exist existed even in the present day. But
exactly. So yeah, it's a different universe. Who knows, dude? News is weird.
let's move on and talk about our favorite scene.
She is very gorgeous to me.
Cody, what's your favorite scene in this movie?
Yeah, I got a couple. I mean, we'll rag on this movie all day, but I still got a lot of favorite scenes here. Obviously the introduction of Andrew Garfield, I think is by far my favorite scene. Just his interaction with MJ and Ned is great. His interaction with
And Ned's grandma.
yeah, the grandma is golden. Him crawling around, him doing stuff for him. I just love it. Andrew Garfield. I was saying this is like a bold take before. I don't really think it is anymore. I think Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man. That's
He
my
just got terrible scripts.
yeah.
It was not his fault.
But that's
And
definitely
he
my
loved
first-
I think he loved that character more than any of them did.
Yeah, no,
And
I mean,
was very upset and very hurt that those movies did not work out and did not pay.
oh yeah, he's very passionate about his
And I
Spider-Man.
think this is a good thing for him to have an opportunity like this to get be consoled a little bit and have an end to his story. I don't know,
Yeah.
not necessarily an end to his story, but at least a bookend.
Some sort of conclusion. Yeah. And then I talked about in the last episode as well, them swinging around at the end is awesome. I think it's art. That's just pure art there. I mean, the movements, I mean, that clip is everywhere. I've seen it probably a billion times. I mean, if you're on TikTok, I mean, obviously you've seen the entire movie by now. But that's art in my book. And then You were ragging on it earlier a little bit. I like the initial Doc Ock fight. I think it's pretty sick. And then the Electro Sandman, little mid battle as well in between. I think is pretty cool. A lot of good action, honestly, in this movie. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Spider-Verse stuff is mostly my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Doc Ock fight as a whole. I think it has a really interesting use of like that space, like going across the top of the bridge and over top the train tracks, and then underneath of it. I think the way it utilizes the actual area, it makes it feel real in space at least. So that's good. The only other scene that you didn't mention, I really actually like the one shot. So there's this one shot that they do when Peter Parker first comes back to the apartment. Like it's right in the opening, when him and MJ, like have the fake sex joke or whatever. He comes into the apartment and you see like they open the door, and from like the second that they open the door into the room with Peter and MJ, everything after that point it was one continuous take up into like they find out that he's Spider-Man. So like the camera pans around and you see the person at the door, and then he goes and closes this window, and it goes back to, and it's just a really cool, I think, to start a movie with something like that, specifically in a scene where there's supposed to be a ton of anxiety. Like Peter Parker just found out that literally everybody in the world knows he's Spider-Man, and Happy and May don't know it yet. They obviously also just had their little breakup or whatever. And I just think the way that single take and never cutting away from it does a great job of building that anxiety and just creates a really cool scene. It's also super well choreographed with them, Zendaya running over to the door to shut the door, and him having to close every single blind and whipping some of them and not others. And one of them goes back up, and it's an achievement of filmmaking within a movie that is already a great achievement of filmmaking. So.
Yeah, no, I love scenes like that, especially like any sort of camera work where it is a longer take like that. I definitely agree with that. I mean, just in general, I think that's just like showing your muscles a little bit as a filmmaker. If you're able to pull that off effectively, and I think it's pretty seamless as well. So yeah, I definitely back that.
All right, Kody, what's your favorite? Sorry.
You don't even know our categories, dude. Jeez. This guy calls himself a host. Come on now. Korbin, who can act in this movie, dude?
Wow.
I got a couple. I think the obvious one that everyone, has been saying, pushing for the best actor nomination for the boy, I guess best supporting actor nomination for the boy Willem Dafoe, the man himself. I personally don't think it's that great. Like it's not on that level. I don't think you should win an Oscar for this, but I do think Willem Dafoe is a great actor and very good in this movie. Andrew Garfield, I think, is the best actor of the three Spider-Man, just period. And even in this movie as well. He's just having a lot of fun. You can tell how much fun he's having. Also, just the emotional moment he has when he finally saves the girl, and he finally gets to save Zendaya after, redeeming himself for the mistakes he made with Gwen Stacy. I think his emotion there is also really great. But the person I actually want to talk about that I think is a very underrated part of this movie is Jacob Batalon as Ned. I think he is so great in this movie, and him and Tom Holland's chemistry is off the charts, which I was watching an interview, and that's actually the reason he got hired. He didn't really have any prior acting experience before Homecoming, but they were just doing a lot of screen tests with different actors against Tom Holland. And him and Tom Holland just like clicked and were like instant best friends. And you can clearly tell through this movie, like any scene where they interact is absolute comedy gold. I love the one where the three of them are working in the lab, and like Jacob Batalon goes over to Andrew Garfield's or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He's like, "Oh, did you have a best friend?" And he does the whole thing like, "Oh yeah, he tried to kill me." And just like the look on his face, and then like the way he slowly approaches Tom Holland's Spider-Man after that, like touching the computer and then running away. Fantastic. He's also really good with Zendaya, which I think in the previous movies, there wasn't really a relationship there at all. But I think like them and his grandma, and then like the two Spider-Mans in the room, just their dynamic is a lot better and well fleshed out in this movie. And I think it's cool to see their friendship as well. So Jacob Batalon, fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Mr. Batalon as well. It's definitely a good pick there. And then my two that I had down for who can act, you actually touched on them both. But I'll continue it. Andrew Garfield, I'm gonna keep shouting him out the entire pod. So I think he is one of the better actors in this movie, without a doubt. Like you said earlier, I mean, he was finally given a good and fun script, and you do have those emotional moments with him as well, which is awesome. Yeah, my who can act, it's Willem Dafoe. You're talking about Oscars over here. I'm not too sure about that. He's in the movie for 20 minutes. I don't know if that's Oscar worthy, unless you're Mahershala Ali out here. But yeah, the beautiful thing is they listen to me. I think I said this last week, but I'm gonna repeat it again because they actually listen to me. Willem Dafoe doesn't need that stupid mother effing mask from Spider-Man 1. He's got a crazy, insane face. They destroy the mask in the first 5 minutes he's in the movie, and I was hyped. I mean, his facial expressions are just so fun, so over the top, so crazy. He is the standout villain, obviously, in this movie. And coming in, I thought he was going to be Doc Ock just because, Alfred Molina is such a good actor. Like Spider-Man 2 is such a good movie.
And all marketing material seems to indicate that fact as well.
100%. I mean, and Willem Dafoe stole the show, if I'm being honest, from the villain standpoint. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it in this movie, but I'm not sure I'm on the Oscar train yet. But maybe give it a couple weeks.
TikTok is, but I'm sure we'll talk Oscars here in a few more categories. Kody, who can't act?
This is a tough one. I don't think anybody's noticeably terrible in this movie. I got a couple names out here. Maybe you disagree. I do have a worse actor. My honorable mention is actually Zendaya. I think she's a good actress. Obviously, she's a good actress. But in this movie, she's not given much to do. Obviously, that's not really her fault. But her character, she had that shtick in the first couple of movies that I was kind of growing accustomed to. I kind of like that, where, she's this super downer. But, I mean, that's flipped on a switch in this movie. We don't really get any of that. And yeah, I don't know. She's not bad, but she's not good either by any means. So she's my.
They make her less of a sarcastic asshole in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of like the sarcastic asshole.
They put her a little bit on a leash a little bit and reel her back in. She still does the negative thing a little bit. I mean, you have the expect disappointment and never be disappointed thing. Yeah. But the sarcastic quippy asshole thing is just gone, and I hate that. And I guess it's just because she's all sappy for Peter Parker, but come on, still busted balls a little bit.
Exactly. It's character growth, and she's growing up or whatever. But I don't buy it much. But
Kody hates female character development. You heard it.
Come on. No comment. No, obviously not. But yeah, my worst actor is a doozy. It's Mr. Sandman himself, Thomas Hayden Church. And it's just for one reason. It's because he didn't do any acting in this movie. They used the exact same footage of him from Spider-Man 3. He couldn't make it.
I swear it's the reverse footage of him turning into Sandman.
It is.
It's that footage, but in reverse.
It literally is. He could not get on set to film anything. So they had to use stock footage from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
they used his voice. He did voice acting.
Okay. Voice acting. Oh, okay. Andy Serkis all of a sudden. But I mean, dude, he got credit in the credits. Quote me on that. Thomas Hayden Church, Sandman. Bullshit. He didn't do anything. You could have put me down as Sandman, and I'd have the exact same argument. So that's my worst actor. Come on, Thomas Hayden Church. Get on set for a day and film one scene. You could definitely do that.
Well, you do know that they also did that for the Reese Ifans, the guy who plays Kurt Connors. He was never on set.
Nobody cares about Kurt Connors.
But I'm saying
the lizard is not even in this movie. You can't convince me.
But I'm saying his dialogue was recorded in post, and he was just there. He wasn't even there to do the final scene where he turns back into a human. That was also taken footage from Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, nobody ever watches that movie, so okay. Okay, put him down too. Fine, clump them together.
You know who can act, Kody?
The lizard's a joke. Yeah.
You know who can act?
Yeah, who?
First of all, have you seen the TikToks where all the people were like, yeah, man, I don't think this homework would be so bad if I was just a lizard. I imagine life would be so much better. He's kind of something. Curtis Connors?
Yeah, he's all right. I know who you're going to say who can act, but I don't think he's that bad, but go ahead.
Tobey Maguire, not great in this movie.
I think he's all right.
I think he's really stiff. and kind of lacking in a lot of emotion. Obviously, he's kind of doing what he did in the original
Exactly.
Spider-Man movies, but in a worse way. I think it's because he's older now and it's like creepier because there's like a little bit of like a creeperness to it. Like it just makes me a little uncomfortable when he talks, and it's just very unnatural in like lacking social skills. And I just don't. I think him being older, it plays pretty horribly. I think it works a little bit in the campiness of the Sam Raimi films, but put into this universe, him doing that, it's weird, it's bad, and it's also just not that great of acting. Like I feel like anybody could act like that.
Yeah. I mean, going back to our original pod on just Spider-Man, the original, I mean, I think we all had a unanimous saying that Tobey Maguire was fucking terrible in that movie. And he's playing the same character here. So he's doing the same things, but I mean,
I don't think it's not, the thing is, it's not Raimi dialogue. Like I feel like Sam Raimi's dialogue kind of fit the way he was playing that character. But like here, when you just put him in the MCU, it doesn't work well. Like him doing the whole back cracking thing, or like
I thought that was funny.
Like he just does stuff where he's like, oh, I do have that. Like,
yeah.
Like when he was,
oh, my webs are organic. How do you guys make them? Like, shut up, dude. But
I fought a black goo alien from space.
yeah, I mean, Tobey Maguire, I've never been a big fan of his. I'd say just in general, for being honest.
There's a reason that he, other than his gambling addiction, there's another reason that he has not been in a lot of movies since Spider-Man. One of them being his gambling addiction, but the second one is that he's not a very good actor.
Yeah. What movie is that you like where Michael Cera plays him?
Molly's Game.
Yeah. Interesting take there. But I mean, yeah, I don't think he's bad, but he's not noticeably bad. I think he's just doing the character again, which was fun in small doses. If I see it again, it might change my mind on it, just because it's just like, oh, I know Tobey Maguire's in this movie. Let's see how he's acting, instead of just being like, wow, I can't believe he's in the movie.
Yeah, that's true. When the excitement of it wore off a little bit, you can pick down or get a little nitpicky with that stuff. Why don't we take a quick commercial break and then we'll come back with the recast. And we're back. We're gonna get started with the recast.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Kody, who do you want to recast in this movie?
I got a couple picks. I'll start off with my controversial one here. I know for a fact you're not gonna like this, but we're gonna go with it anyways. So you know what? I mean, the one character that I said was a very bad actor, just in general, Thomas Hayden Church. Let's get rid of Sandman. He's not my favorite villain. Spider-Man 3 is obviously iffy, and to cherry pick him out of.
So are you're about to change villains, not recast the role of Sandman?
That's correct. Yeah. So I'm kind of changing the rules of the recast anyways, but fuck it. So we're getting rid of that character in general, and we're bringing back one of my favorites from The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Mr. Dane DeHaan himself, the Green Goblin. Obviously, we would have two goblins in one Spooderman movie, and it makes sense though, because he's Harry, and we have Norman already, and we're kind of missing a Harry. There was Timmy Chalamet. Oh, he'd be great. Fuck no, give me Dane DeHaan. Basically, I think Dane DeHaan's a good actor in my book, at least, and same with Andrew Garfield. He's kind of had a shitty script for Amazing Spider-Man 2. So and he fits, like I said, like there's a Harry hole there that you can go into, and yet
what?
A Harry hole. But I mean, Sandman is just boring, and he brings nothing to the table. Like, he's basically a good guy anyways. Like, there's no real reason for him to come back as a villain role. Give me the psycho Dane DeHaan. Let's cure him, and he can be Andrew Garfield's buddy again. Because they're friends supposedly. But yeah, why not? He's a good actor. I like Dane DeHaan.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely given a poor script, so it's unfortunate. It would be nice to see him get a little redemption as well, when it wasn't really his fault, even though I did say he was a bad actor. But I don't know. That was a different podcast. So.
Yeah. Let's hear your recast.
I will say that I saw a TikTok today of Dane DeHaan where his mom kept calling him and telling him like, oh, I can't wait to see the new Spider-Man movie, or like, oh, you're in the new Spider-Man movie, and she wouldn't believe when he said he wasn't in it, but he really wasn't in it. So.
That's so sad. That is so sad.
My recast is I hate the way Flash Thompson is right now.
Really, Tony Revolver though. Come on.
I like him as an actor. Actually, he's okay. I've only seen him in like the Grand Budapest Hotel, and I don't like that movie that much. But I just think the like woke 2021 bully version of Flash Thompson. I mean, that's basically what it is. If we're being honest, like reinvent the bully. Nah, give me like a big dude who could actually kick Peter Parker's ass. That's what I want to see. So I have a weird pitch here, and they're too big for this role. But I think if you put this person in the role, then we actually can maybe get like an Agent Venom or, you know, some sort of storyline with Flash Thompson. And my pick is I want John Boyega to be Flash Thompson. Yeah, he's a little bit older. He's definitely a little old, but the whole thing is he's going to be held back a few years from high school or some BS, or I don't know. He's from a different, he, you know, spent a couple years overseas and he had to retake some classes. I don't know.
He's British. How about that?
Yeah, he's British and they do school differently. So he's just a little older, you know. But I think John Boyega, dude's handsome as hell. He could actually, you know, put up, you know, him and Tom Holland have something to compete about. They're both cool guys. Him and Tony Revolver, he's a loser. So there's
wow. I bet Tony Revolver, you know, could do pretty well here. But yeah, you know, not a bad pick. I'd prefer Joe Manganiello. Just keeping the same age as he is now. But that's not a bad pick, honestly. I like John Boyega. But I do have one more recast, and you know what? I want to see the Rhino in this movie as well. He was name dropped, but he should have pulled up at the end, just the only one to make it out of like the purple glow or whatever. And Dave Bautista just comes rocking out as the Rhino. You can't beat that. I'm pretty sure I did this exact same thing in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 episode, but I don't care. I've been talking about Dave Bautista for a while. Get him in this universe, dude. How have they not cast that yet? That's the most obvious casting of all time. And
Dave Bautista is in the MCU.
Okay, as a Christmas colored alien, get him as the Rhino. Get him with
He's blue
Paul
and
Giamatti.
red.
I don't care. Get him with the Paul Giamatti, you know, barbed wire face tattoo. He's unrecognizable. That's who I want in the next movie as well. But we're recasting for this one too. So throw Dave Bautista in at the end. Why not?
Fair enough. That's the kind of take that people listen to this podcast for, Kody. So
damn right.
Let's move on to Welcome to the Academy.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won.
Kody, what awards are you giving this film?
I got a few. Well, first off, I did want to address, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but supposedly they're doing like a full-on Oscar campaign for a few categories here. I believe one of them was Best Picture, and I hope that's a joke because, I mean, come on. What do you think about that? I don't know, man. That's kind of pushing it in my book.
This movie should not win Best Picture.
It should not be nominated. It should not even be close, in my opinion.
The Oscars are at a crossroads right now.
You're going to say it should be nominated right now.
I do not. Of the movies I've seen, it's in my top 10 favorite of the year. But there's a ton of things that I have not seen. Things that aren't even released yet that are going to be Oscar contenders. It sucks. It's probably not one of the 10 best movies. It's probably not one of like the 30 best movies. 40, 50. Like you could probably go on. There's better made.
It's probably close around there. I don't think
it's probably like top 40.
Yeah, it's probably like top 25.
I don't know. In terms of like pure, just like actual skill and like good filmmaking, I don't know. It's not top 10.
No.
But the Oscars nominating Spider-Man No Way Home for Best Picture here is exactly what the Oscars need, if we're being honest.
No.
The Oscars need. Nobody watched the Oscars last year. No one has watched the Oscars for the last 10 years. People need to care about this shit again, and they have to find a way for people to care. Personally, I think by introducing new categories that can be more inclusive to all sorts of different types of movies, including superhero movies, including comedies, including horror movies, just things that people enjoy watching, I think that's the solution. But for now, I think a Spider-Man nomination, it's not, to me, it's not unheard of. The thing is, Best Picture isn't necessarily the 10 best movies. It's supposed to be a little bit of a cultural culmination of the year in the movies that are, have the biggest impact on the industry and on culture as a whole. Literally, I think in one of the clips I used is like somebody saying, and here's the movies that had the biggest impact, because that's like what the Oscars is. Like, it's not necessarily the best performance. Like, there's more that goes into it. It should not win Best Picture, but I'm okay if it gets nominated.
Yeah,
I'm also okay if it doesn't, though. So
I definitely it won't win. Obviously, it might get nominated. I would be very surprised. I mean, based off what you're saying, I agree with some of it. I do think the Oscar, obviously, the viewership's down. They do need to find more ways to include more movies that people, actually go out and see. That's their own problems. I mean, I don't think the Oscars should change their specific categories just because like a movie's successful or something. I don't think that's what you're saying at all either. But I mean, just throwing this movie a nomination for Best Picture because it was a cultural milestone, I don't know if I buy that. Yeah, I'm sure we could talk about this for forever. But my first Oscar I want to give this movie is basically, I think it's got one of the best end credit songs. Um, I don't know if you know what song it is, Corbin. You want to sing it?
Avatar was nominated for Best Picture. Avatar.
Okay, we're staying honest. Yeah, okay. Avatar. What was that, like 2009? What the hell?
Exactly. In 2009, even more so, like where this is
because it made like $4 billion and nobody had seen
this is gonna make
before.
We can move on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I like this argument. I mean, for Avatar, I think that is the cultural milestone because, like, that's changing filmmaking. Like, I think The Matrix probably should have been nominated in 1999 because that changed how movies were made. That's the same thing with Avatar, I think, with that entire CG, like, just ridiculousness that what that movie is. And yeah, like Black Panther was nominated. I think that was valid as well.
Well, you know what wasn't nominated? The Dark Knight.
Well, that's true.
That's
but
a travesty.
There was only like what 5 nominations in 08.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. We have 10 now too. So
Yeah.
why not? Like, that's the reason they expanded the lineup in the first place, was to be more inclusive of movies like this. So
the thing is, I don't think this is like a top tier comic book movie. I don't think it's on even Black Panther's level where, it's not the best third act, but I think Black Panther's a better movie than this one. That's my opinion.
I don't know.
I definitely think that's true.
I haven't seen Black Panther recently enough.
Fair enough. But yeah, do you know the end credit song? Do you know how it goes? I want to hear you sing it.
This song? This movie?
Yeah.
3. It's a magic number.
It's
and then
so
he raps.
Good. Yeah, so good. It's so fitting.
3 times 3. I mean, it's very fitting. I like it.
So that was one of mine. And then my other Oscar I wanted to give it, which we did talk about briefly last week as well, but I think this is the worst end credit scenes in MCU history. The Doctor Strange.
What about the Hawkeye end credit scene?
That was pretty bad too. I'm not gonna lie, but we're talking about movies here. I think it's got to be up there. It's definitely in the top 5 in my opinion. Obviously, there's been a shit ton of Marvel movies, and you could probably cherry pick like, I don't know what the hell is the Captain Marvel's probably up there.
That's the thing. I can't think of. I've always felt like Guardians end credit scenes were never that great, but I don't remember what the first one was.
Well, I mean, the mid credits one was like Groot dancing. I
know the second one was like leading to, Will Poulter coming in, but I don't.
Yeah, Guardians Volume 2. It was what Adam Warlock or whatever.
Volume 1 probably had something to do with his dad, I'm guessing.
What the hell was the end credit scenes for Volume 1? I've seen that movie so many times too. It's too late. We're recording at like midnight. But yeah, I mean, this.
Also, sorry, this is a day late because that's Cody's fault.
Yeah,
well, actually, it's Amy's Webb's fault, but.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I've been on a family bender.
Oh, dude, the end credit scene of that is the fucking duck.
Oh, that's golden. That's the Guardians written all over it, though. Nah, you can't diss that. But yeah. Sorry for the late release. It is my fault. My bad. Yeah, I mean, dude, come on. What the fuck is this bullshit? I don't care about Venom, if I'm being honest. And it's not even a cool like Venom end credit scene. It's just like saying, oh, he's not legit in the universe. sick. Like, who cares? I don't care about it in general. And then he's not even in the universe to begin with. So sick. And then, I mean, they just roll out the Doctor Strange trailer, which it looks cool. But I mean, I'm already a little, cummerbund overload. And then, I mean,
And you could literally, they released that trailer
the next day.
a week within the movie being released. So you didn't even need to stay like for it. There's no reason. You could just watch it.
I just wasted, 20 minutes of my life watching all the special effects guys not do their jobs. But I mean, yeah, I said this last week. I'm gonna repeat it again, dude. If they just did the Wanda scene where he just rolls up and she's like, I knew you'd show up eventually, and he's like, I'm not here about Westview. Then fucking cut it. Like, that's dope. I'm not an editor, but I could literally tell you how to edit these scenes and make them cool. Like, it's not that hard. Like, that's a cool scene in the trailer. Just stick it at the end. We don't need to see the whole fucking movie. But yeah, those are my Oscars. One positive, one negative. So a little bit both ways.
My only other one I wanted to talk about the best picture thing that was on my list.
Okay.
The other thing was best Spidey sense in a movie or in adaptation. I think the way that they like visualize the Spidey sense in this movie is sick and is kind of never been done like super interestingly. Like, I don't know. It always kind of does the slow motion thing, but it does the slow motion with the dolly in and the zoom out. So the back, I can't remember the name of the zoom.
You're talking about the goblin. He discovers goblin, correct?
I think it's literally just called a dolly zoom. There's a specific name for it. It's like a Hitchcock shot. It's a dolly zoom. So you move the camera in, but then you also zoom out. Right. So the field of view gets wider, but the subject stays the same, like depth in your frame. You can also do the reverse where you move backwards and zoom in. It was used famously like in Vertigo, which is why it's called a Hitchcock shot. It's creating this like feeling of uneasiness in the viewer and like telling like maybe a revelation has happened. And I think it's really cool the way they use that to demonstrate the Spidey sense in this movie. And I think it's the best that they've done on screen up to this point.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. That Spidey sense scene is very cool. Just like creatively how they, visualize that. I like in the past movies in this MCU trilogy as well, like the first one, they just ignored the Spidey sense straight up. And then suddenly it's there in Infinity War, and then the last one, it's like the Peter tingle, so they're kind of, just making a joke out of it, which I wasn't a big fan of. But yeah, I think they nailed it in this movie.
Yep. All right, let's move on to weird movie details trivia.
Right. Naked grandma. Naked, huh?
I told you before the episode that my question is not that great, so why don't you get it started?
Okay, I got a couple. The first one I think is a gimme, but I mean, you've seen the movie 3 times, so it's kind of just like a small detail. I'm assuming you're gonna get it right. But yeah, the question is, what does the brick say on it that Daredevil catches in Peter's apartment? And I ain't got no options, so let's hear it.
Says Mysterio was right.
Yeah. I mean, I've only seen it once, and I just thought that was fucking hilarious, so I wanted to include that.
They've had the Thanos is right stuff in Hawkeye, which like that kind of makes sense that like people would say that, but like Mysterio was right.
What did he do? What was his view? Like, I don't understand.
Like, I guess he's just saying he's right that you killed him. But like, I don't know if that's been disproved. They also gloss over. We mentioned that last time we talked. They definitely gloss over the whole like, how does Peter get out of the legal trouble here?
Yeah.
But he's got a really good lawyer. So
he's all right.
How many questions you got? You want to ask another one?
I have like one more, but it's kind of 2, but they're intense.
Okay, I'll ask mine. So the Spider-Man trilogy that was just finished up was actually the first trilogy in the MCU to be directed all by one singular director, that being John Watts. Mm-hmm. Of the 3 other trilogies, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, there have been a total of 8 different directors.
Okay. You want me to name them?
Name 6 of 8.
Why not all 8, dude?
Name all 8. Can you do it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, Iron Man 1 and 2, we got Jon Favreau. Iron Man 3, we got Shane Black, which I'm not a big fan of his, but not a big fan of Iron Man 3 either. But Thor 1, we got Kenneth Branagh, Shakespeare man himself. Thor 2 was supposed to be Patty Jenkins. Oh man, it was who the hell directed Thor 2? It was I believe it was a woman director. I should really know her name if it's not Patty Jenkins. Obviously, Thor 3 is Taika Waititi. Thor 2 is just so forgettable. It's not because she's a woman, guys. We got Captain America 1. Oh fuck, I don't know who directed that either. Captain America 2 and 3 is obviously the Russo brothers. Who the hell directed Captain America 1? See, I was talking myself up about MCU trivia, and I don't know.
You're like, oh, I can name them all.
Oh man, I know this, but I don't remember. Thor 2
is not a woman.
It's not. It was supposed to be Patty Jenkins. It wasn't, Macbeth boy.
He also just directed The Many Saints of Newark and directed a couple episodes of Game of Thrones, Terminator Genesis.
Yeah, that makes sense. Who is that?
Couple Mad Men episodes.
What's his name?
Alan Taylor.
Oh, I would have never gotten that in a million years. Who the hell directed Captain America 1?
Joe Johnson.
Joe Johnson. Yeah, that's the most forgettable name in the industry. So, I'm not too mad. I missed that. That's a joke of a director.
Joe Johnston. Sorry,
yeah,
said his name wrong. He also did the visual effects on Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So.
Sick. Didn't he direct Ghost Rider? That's somebody else.
I don't know. He directed October Sky, The Rocketeer.
October Sky. I was talking about that movie with Jonah the other day. But yeah, good question. I think technically I got it right, but
you missed 2, so by the original parameters.
Yeah, okay.
I'll take Mark Steven Johnson directed Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. Yeah. Right. Okay. For my second question, it's a doozy. So I'm going to give you 2 Spider-Man movies, and you're going to have to tell me which one has a higher IMDb rating. And I have 2 different sets of movies here to compare. So the first one is going to be obviously No Way Home here, and then it's going up against a Spider-Man classic, Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire.
I bet this has a higher IMDb rating.
You're going No Way Home?
Yeah.
You're correct, but it's very slim margin, so don't be so confident over there, my guy. No Way Home currently, like 3 hours ago when I looked it up, is at 94%. Critics talking here, and Spider-Man 2 is at 93. So it's actually very, very close. And then,
I thought we were doing people, the IMDb,
no,
like the written
audience scores are a joke.
The difference on Letterboxd is a whole 0.5. So
sick. I'm talking about Rotten Tomatoes here. Do your research. And then I have a whatever, dude. I can't. I don't have words tonight. I got 3 options here. You tell me which one's the highest on Rotten Tomatoes. We got Spider-Man 1, the original Tobey Maguire. We got Spider-Man Homecoming, the original Tom Holland. We got Spider-Man Far From Home. Which one has the highest IMDb? A little bit tougher here.
Homecoming.
Yeah, that's correct. Homecoming is at 92. The other 2 both have 90. That first Spider-Man movie has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I could not believe my eyes when I saw that. That movie is fucking terrible. Yeah, good shit on the IMDb this week. I mean, whatever. We're movie trivia. 3 for 3. Yeah, respect.
Let's move on to pitch time. Kody, what's your...
Oh no, you're going first.
Okay. So I don't know my question to you is, did you pick, what's your pitch? Is it a pitch for the next trilogy? Is it just a pitch for any movie? Is it what's your pitch?
My pitch is The Amazing Spider-Man 3 in the MCU.
Okay. I thought that might come up. Okay. My pitch is general outline for a potential next movie featuring Tom Holland, and maybe some general things just talking about the future of his character. I mean, Kraven the Hunter seems to be the thing they're probably setting up next for him. I mean, they've got the Venom stuff at the end of the movie. I think honestly, if this had been a Craven solo movie, it would have made a lot of sense, because when you have like his identity get revealed, and then Craven's whole thing is like he hunts, he's the world's greatest hunter. Maybe he would want to go after Peter Parker because he's, the most uncatchable game. He learns his identity, some bullshit about that.
Yeah.
So this would have made sense as a Craven movie, but I think we can get Craven in the next one, where maybe you get like the opening of the movie is, so let's just say that the Sony movie is like a Craven origin story, whatever. They do their origin story over there. It can happen before or after this movie, like when it's released. Obviously, it would take as a prequel to this movie, but basically what I want to see is the beginning of the movie is that Craven finds out that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. He starts hatching this whole plan to go hunt him down, but then the whole spell happens to where Craven forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but he's still like ensnared with hunting him. So then it's just like the next movie is like him trying to hunt him down and discover who his identity is. That's my general idea for that. Now I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some big fan casts that have been going around for the future of the movie. So obviously Craven's already been cast, Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's whatever. I think it's a decent casting. After especially seeing him in like Nocturnal Animals, the way he looks in that movie, I could kind of see him as a Craven. First of all, the big fan cast for Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn is Timmy Chalamet and Matthew McConaughey. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't mind seeing McConaughey at all. I think he needs to get
as Norman.
Yeah, I would love to see that, honestly. Timmy, I feel like that will get cast. I mean, I'm not going to be mad about it, but I don't know. I'm not like a massive fan. I feel like everybody else is.
Timmy's not
about that casting. I'm saying, not about Timmy in general.
Yeah. Timmy says he does not want to be in a superhero movie, so
yeah,
probably won't happen. But
yeah, that's what they all say. They whip out the checkbook. So
I mean, someone once gave me the great advice of don't be in superhero movies, but star in the prequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I hear that advice all the time. So I understand what he's doing with his career. For me, obviously, I've called my shot on Timmy Chalamet during the Amazing Spider-Man 2 episode. So just want to throw that out there. I was calling it before even Tom Holland was saying anything. So I'm all over it.
You must listen. Hey, Tom, you're welcome. Get your own PR guy. Come on.
It's that one UK listener we have. Matthew McConaughey, I don't know if I love that. Here's some Black Cat fan casts, Kody.
Okay.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Ana de Armas. And then the last two, there seems to be this obsession with everyone wanting the entire Euphoria cast to just be in the new Spider-Man movies. So other ones include 2 Euphoria actors and Sydney Sweeney and Alexa Demi. But any general thoughts about any of those people, if you know?
Yeah, I know. I'd say Ana de Armas would be my favorite out of those picks. We've talked about her before, but I think she's actually a really good actress, and she's just improving. I feel like every time I see her in a new movie. So yeah, that'd definitely be my pick.
I hate the Anya Taylor-Joy one. I don't like it.
I don't mind that, actually. I like Anya Taylor-Joy.
I like her a lot, but I don't know. I think would be a weird role for her to play.
I think that'd be a good fit for her, honestly.
I don't know. Seeing her in her role in Last Night in Soho, which I feel like has to have a little bit of a similar energy, I don't like them. Because there's a little bit of like a man killer in both of them. Mm-hmm. And I don't like the way she played that, at least in that movie, with that direction. Ana de Armas, I think, would be great. I honestly think Sydney Sweeney wouldn't be terrible either. But I don't know if it also needs to be just like some white blonde chick.
Yeah.
Like,
mix it up. Yeah. No, I agree with that too.
Another one, continue with the Euphoria thing. Everyone is Gwen Stacy being Hunter Schafer, which I don't think they will ever do. They want to see like a Spider-Gwen, Hunter Schafer. Personally, I don't think that would ever happen. I don't think they'll ever cast a trans actress like in a prominent role like that, or at least not anytime soon. But I actually really like that casting a lot. I like it a lot better than any of the other Euphoria actors in the Black Cat role. But I think Hunter Schafer's Gwen Stacy could be really interesting. Finally, my casting in this future world where we bring Kurt Connors in is I want Matt Smith to play Kurt Connors. So there you
go. Who?
Matt Smith. He was on Doctor Who. I don't know.
Which Doctor Who?
The 11th.
Which one is he?
The 11th.
I do know who that is. It's not the guy who was in Jessica Jones. It was the guy before.
Not David Tennant. Yeah.
Any reason for Matt Smith? Just because he's got a really bland name?
I like him. I think he'd be good as a scientist, and I want to see him more in like villainous type roles. And I think a Kurt Connors, if we're gonna do that again, which everyone seems to want. Literally, everyone's like, "Oh, Peter Parker goes to college for the first day." Cody's currently frozen, so I'm gonna keep talking. Peter Parker goes to college for the first day, and he turns to his right and he sees Gwen Stacy, and teaching the class is Kurt Connors, and then Harry Osborn is his roommate. Like, I don't want to see that shit. Like, I think that's just dumb. Like, let's not just dump all of these characters in there for the sake of being. So I don't really think we need Kurt Connors, but yeah, I continue to talk even though you're frozen. Welcome back. You can listen.
Matt Smith been in.
You can listen. You can listen back to what I had to say earlier if you care.
Matt Smith, terrible casting. But yeah, my pitch doesn't have any Euphoria actors, sadly, but it is the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Man, I really want to see just like this movie in MCU canon. I think that'd be sick. Obviously, just another Andrew Garfield Spooderman movie. I'd be a fan of as well. And my pitch for it basically, I didn't go crazy in detail here, but I mean, you got to bring back Emma Stone, and you just got to do Spider-Gwen. I feel like you've already done the timeline jumping or whatever, the alternate universes.
The multiverse.
Yeah, the multiverse of madness. Yeah. Also, I think it's funny.
The Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I was gonna say that later. I think it's funny how in Doctor Strange they're calling it Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Just call it Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness, you goons. But yeah, for my Amazing Spider-Man 3 movie, I want the villain to be the Prowler, a la Into the Spider-Verse, which is a great movie. And I want to bring back Mahershala Ali to reprise his role, but obviously bring it live action. I don't care that he's Blade; he can do both. It's a multiverse of madness, whatever. And then also, if you're gonna do Prowler, you gotta introduce Miles Morales as well. So sort of a combination of the Amazing Spider-Man 3 and a Spider-Gwen story, while also introducing Miles Morales, and then he can obviously kickstart his own movie as well. Yeah, I think that'd be just an interesting another MCU Spider-Man movie that would be a little bit unique and something I'd really want to see.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think Miles Morales with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man makes the most sense tonally to the three of them. I think you're asking for a lot in one movie: Spider-Gwen, Miles Morales, and the Prowler as the main villain. But hey, it's ambitious, and I like it. I can't wait to read your script.
All right, it'll come out in a few months. Look out for it.
All right, what are your thoughts on the everyone wanting Venom to be in the Venom and Morbius to be in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and that Amazing Spider-Man 3 to be against Tom Hardy's Venom?
I wouldn't mind seeing that either. I think that'd be an interesting take.
Just put a competent writer behind it. Don't let Tom Hardy write it, and don't let Mark Webb write it, and
don't let Jared Leto be in the movie. But yeah, sure. Throw Venom into the Amazing Spider-Man universe. I think that fits enough. It's got a fun tone to it. So yeah, why not?
Count down the days to Morbius. We're gonna that'll be our next live podcast.
I'm not watching that movie. I don't even care if I pick it. I'm not watching it.
I'll do a solo pod about Morbius. Let's move on to our rating.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong? It's my favorite.
The final thing about Spider-Man No Way Home. Kody, terrible title, but what are you giving this movie out of 69?
Yeah, the title brought it down a few notches. Probably would have been higher. But also just what is up with the title trends? Like
what is the word for the next trilogy?
I don't fucking know. Just make it, just Spider-Man. Why do you need
college?
Like Spider-Man Homecoming is cool. Like that's cool because it's like a double meaning, like it's coming back to the MCU. Far From Home, it is Far From Home. Like that makes sense, I guess. What the hell's No Way Home? Nobody's going home. Nobody's coming back home. Like, yeah, I guess like the heroes, like the villains.
Well, at the end of it, he has no home, so there is no way home.
That's a stretch for sure. But yeah, anyways, my rating, I feel like I'm going pretty generous here. This is kind of a hard movie to rate. I'm not going to lie to you. Out of 69, I'm going with a 61 rating. So, I mean, I gave this movie 4 stars on Letterboxd. I think it is a good movie. And 61's right in that tier of good movies for me. I think The Martian's around there. There's a lot. We've done a lot of movies, obviously. Maybe Fast Five's in that category as well, somewhere near. But yeah, I think this is a damn good movie. And like I was saying off the top, I mean, a hell of an achievement. And I'll definitely be watching it again soon. So yeah, I'm going 61.
Martian and School of Rock at a 60, Fast Five at a 61.
I mean, dude, I'm nailing this. That was off
Princess
my
Bride at a 63, Gone Girl at a 60.
Yeah, I think that's in this echelon of just good movies. So I back that.
All right, I'm giving this movie a 54. For me,
Ooh.
for
That's
me
actually
that puts it right in between Holes and Gone Girl for me. So
okay.
that's where I place it. 54.
Is it above Holes or below Holes?
Above Holes, below Gone Girl.
Thank God. My gosh. Thank God John Voight's not in this movie. That would have fucking
All three 4-star movies. So, but
nice. Respect.
let's talk about well, thank you first of all if you listen this far. Before
Yeah,
we get to our recommendations, this is a
I
long
feel like
episode.
this has been a long one.
We've been rambling.
A lot of side just talk here, which I love, but it's definitely a good movie to talk about. But if you're still here, like actually like really appreciate you guys.
Drop us a rating on Spotify. New feature that you can do. You can rate pods out of 5. So
Give us an honest critique.
give us an honest critique.
Roast Korbin.
Same thing on Apple Podcasts too. Also, answer the question below the Spotify. Who's your favorite Spider-Man? Kody, what have you been into recently?
Yeah, obviously the Hawkeye finales this week.
This week.
Yeah, it was this week, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Last week.
It was last week. Yeah.
Whatever. Fuck off. I was kind of disappointed by it. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was good, but there was no real payoff for Echo, in my opinion. Which I mean, I don't know what they're
You'll
doing.
get it in her TV show.
Does she have superpowers? I thought she did. I thought she was like Black Canary, where she had like Echo stuff. But
Maybe there's still time.
yeah, that's true. I like her character. I like the actor a lot as well. But yeah, I don't know. The finale payoff for me wasn't great. And then obviously with Kingpin, I mean, they didn't do much, and they I'm assuming they fake killed him because I don't think they actually killed Kingpin off screen like that. I mean, I know it's like PG-13 Marvel stuff, but they wouldn't actually just kill him like that. Like that's so lame. Oh yeah, did you see the finale by the way, Gorman?
Yes, I saw the finale.
Okay.
I don't think he dies, does he?
Well, no, at the end,
Doesn't he like get up out of the rubble or whatever?
Yeah, did you not see the ending?
I don't remember. It's been a week.
You didn't even watch it. Yeah, Echo has a gun pointed at his head, and then it pans up and you hear the gunshot.
Oh yeah.
So they're saying like she killed him, but I don't think he's dead. Anyways, yeah, Hawkeye, good series. Check it out. And then my other record.
Where do you rank? Where do you put Hawkeye? Maybe this is we'll save it for next week, actually.
Okay.
Where you put Hawkeye in the MCU?
It's definitely up there for the TV show for me. But my other rec is did you check out? You did check out Don't Look Up because you
I did.
I also checked it out. I liked it a lot. You sent me a tweet talking about Adam McKay's directing style where he just throws in random clips. I like that. I think it's niche. It's very interesting, and he's done it for a couple movies. It's probably most of his movies. Did he do it? I can't talk still. Did he do it for The Big Short? I don't remember.
There's definitely weird like stock clips.
Bang stock footage.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I definitely remember it in Vice, and obviously in this movie. I think this movie was super effective. And yeah, I just like Adam McKay's directing style. But I mean, this cast, holy shit, dude, this is a hell of a cast. I mean, obviously Leo, which is a different role for him as well, and I think he really settled into it. Jennifer Lawrence, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, he's married to a woman his own age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you got the scene stealers of Timmy Chalamet is amazing in this movie. And then Jonah Hill as well. I was dying every time Jonah Hill was on screen. So I mean, just up to down the entire cast you could talk about. Meryl Streep is very funny as well. Yeah, Don't Look Up. I think it's a fun movie from Adam McKay. Something different from him. It's not really like he does this biopic stuff, but it's sort of his first like original take on the story, and like he just went straight up satire, which I love. Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of I saw some stuff on it where people mad because like, oh, he's making fun of political stuff. Like, I feel like most of it would be true, low-key. Don't get mad at me. But I mean, he makes fun of both sides, and like he takes it to the extremes. But that's our political state right now. If you give this 10 years and a comet's coming at us, this actually would fucking happen. If I'm being honest, Don't Look Up is the perfect title for the movie because it's fucking ridiculous.
My
But yeah,
my
I
big
like this movie a lot. Check it out, 100%, just for the cast. But yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I gave this movie 4 stars because listen, I do like Adam McKay a lot. I think is a good screenwriter, like regardless of like the story as a whole, like he just can write dialogue well.
Yeah.
I think the stylistically the whole like stock footage thing is less successful in this movie than it is in like The Big Short or maybe even Vice. But the performances are fantastic. I love Leonardo DiCaprio. I think Jonah Hill is an absolute show stealer, like you said. Meryl Streep's obviously an icon. Jennifer Lawrence is great. It just, the list continues to go on throughout the movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie about astronomers. Like it's an intersection of a lot of things that I can just love and appreciate. But I do also have my gripes, and not because it's making fun of politics. I don't have any issues with movies that do that. But what I said, and I've said constantly, and I'm not the first person to say this, but I think satire is dead. I don't think you can, in the post Donald Trump United States, I don't think you can satirize the our political landscape because it's a satire of itself. Like there is nothing ever as ridiculous or as, obtuse and buffoonish as like our American government was, and it still is now, quite frankly. Like when Meryl Streep makes some dumb comment, it's like, this isn't even funny, or like, this isn't even, the thing is, it's not necessarily that smart because it's not that hard to literally just imitate real life. Like it's pretty on the nose. I don't think it's necessarily smart. I think I don't think it's that impressive with
maybe that's the point.
Like I think 10 years earlier, this movie's a masterpiece. And I think I agree with you. In 10 years, this movie may be looked at as like, hey, this is a good representation of what our like media looked like and what our government looked like. But I think living in it right now, like I just don't think as a satire, like as a successful satire, like I just don't think it works. Like I don't think we can have that right now in a good way. Like what's another movie that is like a successful satire released in modern day? Like, I don't know. Nothing recently.
Nobody does that anymore. But I mean, the thing is,
I just think the making fun of Donald Trump thing is just so tired and lazy to me. Like, I agree. Like he's a terrible person and we should make fun of him. That's my take. But
I mean, I don't think this
movie's doing anything special with that. And I think people are just eating it up. Like, oh, it's about climate change. And like, it's the perfect movie that people in Hollywood are going to love. But
I guess I don't look into it that deep. I don't think it's a Trump satire. I think it's a political satire. I think it makes fun of both sides, like I said. And yeah, obviously, like the whole president thing.
She's a former Meryl Streep's playing a former actress whose son is the chief of staff.
Yeah. That's a direct dig, obviously. Like there's digs at Trump specifically, but I don't think that character is Trump. I think they're just a dumbass president who like we could easily elect. Like they just were given money from Apple. They're from Steve Jobs, basically. Like that will 100% happen in the future. But yeah, I mean, you can read into this movie however you want, but I just came at it from a general, like political, like you were saying, astrophysical. It's a disaster movie. That's what it is. I don't think it's that focused on politics, if I'm being honest, but there's just aspects of there that I really enjoyed. It's literally just making fun of disaster movies, I think, as well, and putting it into our actual political climate, which I thought was really funny.
Anything else you're into, Kody?
No, that was it. Let's hear your Rex.
I've watched a lot of movies this week. I'll jump through them really quickly. First of all, things that I have not seen yet, but I'm going to watch probably shortly after this. Book of Boba Fett dropped the day we recorded this, so go check that out. I feel like the hype around that is not very real, and I think it's probably going to be pretty good. So go check out the Book of Boba Fett. I watched, what's the best thing I watched? I rewatched Palm Springs, which we've obviously talked about on this podcast. Nice. Great movie. Watched the original Matrix again since the last time we talked. Fantastic movie. Truly, like I mean, you said earlier in the podcast, like changed the way movies were made. Haven't got a chance to check out the newest one, but I am curious to see what's going on there. I
heard
watched.
it's bad. I heard
I've
it's really bad.
I've heard some people love it,
No,
but for
I
the
think
most
it's
part,
terrible.
people hate it.
Yeah.
I did actually watch Vice for the very first time after we recorded our last podcast.
Yeah.
Definitely not his best work, especially in his like post 2010 like Will Ferrell breakout era. I also watched Nightmare Alley, which was a movie you slated to be nominated for some Oscars potentially.
I did.
I think it will be nominated for some Oscars. I personally don't think Bradley Cooper's performance is that great in it. Some people do. All around, just like not that interesting of a movie to me, personally. But
It's like a magician movie or something, isn't it? I really don't
like
understand what
circus,
concept
it's a circus movie,
Okay.
like
I
with
probably won't check it out.
mentalism.
That's weird.
It's very interesting. Tony Collette gives Bradley Cooper a hand job in a bathtub. So,
Oh, I'm checking it out now. Thanks.
and then the last thing that I rewatched again was 21 Jump Street, which I hadn't seen in a while. And 21 Jump Street is, I feel like, smarter than a lot of people give it credit for. I think just in the way it takes on like the whole IP thing, and just even a lot of the jokes and like the commentary on like the way like generations change. And I think it's smarter than people give it credit for. It's not just a dumb Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum comedy movie. Like there's actually some intelligent humor in there. So
Yeah, I back that. 21, 22 Jump Street, couple of the more underrated modern classics. You can quote it.
I don't know if I can say the same about 22, but 21 for sure.
I'm a big fan of those movies.
Even the way, hey, they brought back the OGs. Johnny Depp was in 21 Jump Street, so
And the other guy.
they did it before Spider-Man.
Exactly. Nostalgia bait. That's where Spider-Man got the idea from. Johnny Depp.
All right. I think we're finally at the end. We did it.
We made it through.
Apologies again for this being a late episode. We will hopefully be on time for our next episode, where we'll be discussing some of our favorite and maybe even a few of our least favorite things that we watched, listened to, saw, experienced in 2021. So join us for that year in review podcast.
Absolutely. Definitely going to be a fun one. And yeah, just going to wrap up the entire year. Should be explosions out here. Lots of fun stuff.
All right. Peace.
Adios.